spoiler review, full discussion of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So there is a spoiler warning, so if you have not seen the film, do back out now, and you'll feel free to share any spoilers in the chat. But I'm going to be going through the whole film and just spoiling it, and just going through everything. And if sound's alright, if light's alright, we can get started. So um, we're just gonna go through the film. It's probably gonna be quite a long stream, so obviously, just play it by ear. But I thought it'd be better to do it as a stream so we can get better quality, better sound. Because when I do it, otherwise the sound isn't as good. So I thought, yeah, let's just do it. So, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Now, if you are someone who watched my review, my non spoiler review that I uploaded in the time of filming this yesterday, you know that I gave it a 10. I gave it very positive reviews, and on from that, nothing's changed. Nothing has changed since I filmed the review last week. Nothing's changed. It's still a 10 out of 10. So, just throwing that out there. But with all that said, let's get started. So the film starts off, of course, with your beautiful Marvel Studios intro, and it is pretty quiet. If I can't really remember the intro. I remember it had the Guardians instead of the Avengers and everything. It had that, which was really cool. Um, and that was like, I think there was a bit of music, but it was relatively quiet, setting the tone. Film starts off with Baby Rocket in his cage full of other raccoons. Han comes in, grabs him, cuts to adult Rocket. And within the first like 30 seconds, it's obvious the tone of this film. It is a darker, more mature Guardians film. The objectives are made quite clear within the first 10 minutes. So we start off, Rocket puts a song on Creep, which is probably foreshadowing sort of what happens later on, but we get a glimpse of all the Guardians around nowhere, sort of now that they've bought it out, that we get to see other things, get to see them doing other stuff and everything, and then we see Star-Lord, who is just wasted, he's just drunk and just really upset over the loss of Gamora, and then he just sort of like passes out. So like Nebula picks him up, they all walk like still playing this song in this montage, and it's just so emotional. It's so like just depressing off the bat, and it's clear the objectives of this film. Sorry, I'm just trying to sort that out. The objectives are very clear. The emotion is very, very clear. And within no time at all, Adam Warlock is introduced. He goes flying forward, just flying straight. He gets this really cool entrance with some really cool like rock music, and I was surprised. Like, this is pretty fast paced. This is pretty for a 2.5 hour long film. They've jumped right in. They've gone for it within the first 5 minutes. One of our villains sort of thing has been introduced. So when it gets in, it's clear he's after Rocket. He shoots Rocket, and that is where the tension builds in, because you have Star-Lord or Peter Quill and Nebula surrounding around him after Nebula tried to fight Adam Warlock but failed miserably. Them two are trying to look after Rocket, and he is not in a good state. Meanwhile, Drax, Mantis, Gru, and Kraglin, even, they all try to beat Adam Warlock, but he's too powerful for them. Beats them very, very easily. And it's I think that, they threw some good humor in there, but it's definitely a bit more on the edge of your seat sort of thing. Like, where is this going? How is this gonna affect the story? Because from the start of this film, no one's safe. That builds tension, and I was like really nervous for Rocket's fate in this film, but when he got shot, I was like, wow, sort of thing. So they get him on the ship. They stab Adam Warlock, which was, they just sort of happens. To which they get Rocket on the ship, not in very good care, and then we get like a flashback, and I'm gonna just do the flashbacks sort of try and do them in order, but it is going to be quite hard to remember the order of them. But one of the most emotional scenes of the film comes into play within the first 10 minutes. We have a flashback of Rocket first meeting Lila, Teves, and Floor. Goes in, he's this small, innocent raccoon who's just been through all sorts. You can see his shaved head, you can see the blood smearing down his forehead. And that is so sad. Like, seeing an innocent raccoon just in that state. I know it happens in the real world. But really, really hard stuff. Meets his new friends. And the first words of Rocket hurts. And he shivers and he just says, hurts. That is heartbreaking. That is something very, very heartbreaking to sit and watch. The fact that you've just watched a baby raccoon in pain say that something hurts. And it just hits hard. It does hit hard. Because you're questioning what's happened, like, because they don't actually show what happened in that situation, but anyways, back to modern day, or I guess the future, because it's based in like 2025, I think it is. I can't remember. It's based in the future, because obviously the 5-year gap. But basically, Rocket is not in good state, so the Guardians get a plan together to go to one of Rocket's original places where he was, to try and get some information in how to save him. We get a nice little montage of like since you've been gone, with showing like Rocket and his friends playing and having fun, just sort of Rocket's growth a little bit. He's grown up a little bit more. He's walking on 2 legs now. And then there's some character arcs for Star-Lord. Now, obviously, now we know that Mantis is Star-Lord's sister. They're siblings. The point is bring up that what happened to Peter Quill's grandfather. And it's not really anything that you've thought before, but then you think it, you're like, that's a good point. And he has no carent. He couldn't care less about seeing him because he has that anger as when he was a child. And you have different memories of some stuff when you're younger to when you're an adult, because they're sort of children thoughts, they're younger thoughts. And then there's something, it's clear this is foreshadowing something. What is it building up? And it had me thinking, like, interested in how this sort of could conclude the story / motivate the characters. Anyways, I really enjoyed that. We got some good humour in there. I was laughing. Really funny stuff in there, really. Anyways, Ravengers come. Sylvester Stallone is back as one of the Ravengers, and I just think it's so funny how Sylvester Stallone is in this trilogy. Like, he plays such a small character and he's such a huge actor, like the Rocky films and everything, and I just find it really funny. Like, he's just sort of the odd one out there. He's just there, like, really small role, but he's there. Marvel chose to get him. Fair enough. Anyways, we see past Gamora from Endgame. We all knew it was coming, and it's very, very different version of Gamora to what you remember. A lot more angry and less soft, if you will. And I actually thought that the chemistry between Star-Lord and Gamora was really powerful. Probably not this first scene, but that just, I think throughout the film they just elevate it a lot more, and it's a lot, the objective of them is a lot more clear, to which they go out onto this planet. They get these spacesuits on, which look an awful lot like Among Us characters. They're kind of sus, if you ask me. Um, just a bit questionable. Thought it was a bit sus, you know. And Groot stays on the ship with Rocket, and there was another flashback with um, Rocket and High Evolutionary, and they are just sort of talking, but you kind of question, like, why is he being this soft on him after everything that's going on? But then you remember, Rocket's just a child. He doesn't really. He was young when that happened. He doesn't really understand. I guess High Evolutionary is sort of a father to him. I don't like saying that. Now forget I said that. That's just a bunch of rubbish. Um, but they have some chemistry, and High Evolutionary is just like, he doesn't see him as anything more but a experiment, just a thing that doesn't mean anything, just a raccoon that serves no purpose. He is just this selfish, cruel, twisted character who has no remorse. He just wants to do what he can do. And we get some good, like, screen time with Rocket and everything. I actually really enjoyed the screen time that them two had, because it's just sort of like, it just sort of shows a bit more of like his character, like who he is. I guess that's kind of what I want to say. And there's another one where it shows High Evolutionary sort of plan, which is to make animals human-like. He has this plan for a planet, and they use this turtle. They put him in this machine. It makes him really, really big, like looking like a ninja turtle. And then he's really aggressive, and High Evolutionary is trying to find out, what can we do to sort this out? Like, why is this happening? To which Rocket makes a very valid point, and it kind of foreshadows what is happening later on. But he just incinerates that turtle, burns it like it was nothing, and that's awful. It is awful, and that is why I said, like, this has severe cruelty to animals, and it's awful. Like, he just treated that like it's nothing. So then we cut back to the Guardians, and Drax and Mantis have their own chemistry, while Star-Lord and Gamora are running around the spaceship, this planet, trying to dig into the core of the planet. To which Star-Lord tries to make his move on Gamora, tries to see something between them two that maybe he doesn't. He's struggling to accept that this is a new Gamora. This is a different one. And you can't help but feel kind of bad for him. You really can't. Like, you do kind of feel for him, and just Gamora has no interest in him, but he's so broken from Infinity War and Endgame, so it hits you there. So I enjoyed the chemistry they had, and I feel like it does a lot of development for Star-Lord's character as a whole, and obviously seeing where it could go next in the story. So there's some good humor in there. They dig in, they get inside the planet. There's like a big High Evolutionaries place. You get in there, and it's really funny in there. So there's like a joke where they make a joke about that one guy in the friend group who's just a bit of an oddball, you know. He's like, oh, I got one of these guys too. So funny joke, really. Made me giggle. Um, and Drax is just making jokes at the inappropriate time and doesn't understand sarcasm, things like that. And you see this banter between Drax and Mantis, a lot like we saw in Guardians 2 and the holiday special. Really just different though. Like, it feels a bit more like banter because I feel like in Volume 2, Drax was just talking down to Mantis, calling her ugly, things like that. But in this one, sort of Mantis sort of fighting back, and they're both having that banter, I guess. So, anyways, in the end, they split up. Star Lord, Gamora, Nebula in one group, Drax and Mantis in another. To which Mantis like hypnotizes a one of the guards to think he's in love with Drax, and Drax's reaction is just so funny, like such like a man. It's really funny. Just that trying to, when you fall for someone, it's just really funny joke. Honestly, I can't explain it, but it really did make me giggle so much. So Star Lord, Gamora, and Nebula, while Star-Lord's still trying to make his move, they find this. Well, this scene as a whole, it has a lot of James Gunn's like friends and family in there. There's like a lot, and you the whole time you're like, that's James Gunn's wife, that's James Gunn's buddy over there, and I really think James Gunn should really stop doing that. I really do think he needs to stop casting his friends and family because it's just quite distracting. Anyways, they get there, they meet another person. I can't remember what she was called, the pink lady. I know she is James Gunn's wife, if I'm not mistaken. To which they find the little orb thing, which has the information that they need to save Rocket's life. And then a big fight breaks out when they find out that, the Guardians aren't actually supposed to be there. So it's a cool fight. Actually, Drax gets shot, and there was nothing else about that. He gets shot, and then Mantis carries him out. But then that's it. There's nothing else. So I guess it wasn't too bad. Mustn't have been that bad. Pretty rough fight though. There's a lot of throwing each other around or something. And then we see a bit more Adam Warlock where they have like taken one of the Ravengers captive, and they just fry this guy. Adam Warlock just fries this guy. He's just a skeleton lay there. It's just a skeleton lay on the chair, and I was like, wow, you're really allowed to show that in a PG-13? But man, it gets worse. And then we catch up with the Guardians a bit, and we don't see it, but we hear Baby Rocket screaming in pain, which I'm assuming was the scene from earlier, which I mentioned that we didn't actually get to see. Screeching in pain, and Nebula's like, wow, this is worse than what Thanos did to me, and it gets you scared because you're like, we've got quite a few flashbacks to go with this story, and hits you right there, and it is pretty rough, like hearing just a baby raccoon screaming as people are trying to get hold of it and do all sorts of awful experiments on it. It's sad. It's really sad. Anyways, that happens, and I believe we get another flashback, or I know they land on the new planet that High Evolutionaries made. They land on this planet and meet all the experiments. This is where I'm going to go back because I've actually just realised, yes, there was a flashback. So before they land on there, High Evolutionary interrogates Rocket, really rough, grabs him, throws him in front of a light, and you can see how scared he is. He's in so much fear, and he's just shouting at him, saying, "How did you work this out, my creation?" Because he created him. So he's like, "Why couldn't I work that out? If you could work that out, why couldn't I?" And he's just so rough to him. But anyways, turns out it worked. The experiment worked, and there are now just hybrids, I guess. Story behind Zootropolis. um, yeah, so they work it out, and this is where the you're on the edgy seat. So basically, um, Rocket gets betrayed. Rocket and his friends all think they're going to this new planet world, and they're all going to have this fun life. Nah. He says how he's going to incinerate them all in the morning. He's going to kill Rocket, Lila, Teeves, and Floor just right out the gate. And right there, that's not. That in the next flashback, there's probably going to be something like just a bit more on the edge, I guess. But we don't need to talk about that now. But at that point, you hate him. You despise High Evolutionary. You really want to see him defeated. And he grabs Rocket's face and he just makes him feel so isolated. And he just felt so isolated and alone and scared. And that's not. No one should feel like that. And to see that happen to a raccoon is very emotional. Anyways, they land on this new planet. There's some humor. Drax like throws a ball at a child, knocks it out, and then they start like throwing like stones and rocks at them. But all the animals are actually quite scared of the Guardians, and Star-Lord's the only one who's trying to say, "We mean no harm. We don't mean to hurt anyone. We're just trying to save our friend." To which that one person actually does let them in, and Gamora is on the ship with Rocket. Well, not with Rocket. She just stayed on the ship because earlier in the film there was more chemistry between Star-Lord and Gamora, to which Gamora literally shoved Star-Lord into the wall, breaking a load of machinery, and she's like, "I'm a Ravenger, that's my family." Which Star-Lord's not convinced that, like, that's not your family, like, we're your family, but the family to this Gamora is the Ravengers, not the Guardians. And that's something which Star-Lord has to learn to accept and just embrace that sort of emotion, because it is emotional for him. Anyways, Gamora does she goes over to Rocket and speaks to him and says you must be a really good pet or something for him to do all this to you, and he's on all these machines, and everything. Anyways, they're in the house. Drax keeps laying on the sofa, and he makes a really good point. So he keeps laying on the sofa, and he's like, they all keep telling him to sit up on the sofa, and he's like, "Why would you make a sofa so long if you couldn't lay on it?" That's a very good point. Why can't you lay on a sofa? In general, why? That is a really good point. I mean, I do it, but Drax made a pretty good point about laying on a sofa, and Star-Lord tries to communicate with this. I can't remember what animal it was. This is one of these animals. Anyway, sorry. That's my phone right there. She's very welcoming. And basically, she approves, and she lets them borrow their car to go to High Evolutionary ship. And it's just this huge ship thing. What else am I going to say? Ship thing, yeah. It's just this huge thing in the sky. And they get in the car. Now, this is a bit of an interesting scene to proper Marvel fans, because you know what Disney's like with their restrictions and everything, with what they can say, what they can, use and show. But we get our first F bomb. When Nebula's trying to open the door, Star-Lord does use the F word, which is like a bit of guidance, bit more guidance. I mean, it doesn't matter like crazy lot because they do it in PG-13 films all the time. But this one, pretty surprising. It's the first MCU one. It's very rare that any other Marvel film does it. I mean, X-Men does it. I know Deadpool does it. So that's the most you get out of it, really. Anyways, they drive. Drax and Mantis stay. Groot gets in the car. They drive. Star-Lord's really bad at driving because obviously, like, what he originally did. And then, actually, I just realised. Sorry, I keep getting my. This is the bit where Nebula goes to see Rocket. And I've got to think this scene in my head quickly because the next flashback is, I think. Okay, let's keep going. I think I'm gonna try and put the flashback as close as possible, but if I get a little bit off, I'm really sorry. I saw the film a week ago. I saw it 8 days ago, so I saw it last Saturday. So little not as fresh in my mind. I probably should have done this review a little bit sooner, but I was just waiting for other people to have seen it. Anyways, enough about that. I lost my point now. Yeah, so they drive there, and they allow Peter Quill and Groot on the ship, but they don't allow Nebula because of her mechanical arm, which is classed as a weapon. I'm gonna go with the flashback. All right, this flashback, you know what it is. The most devastating scene of all of the MCU, where Rocket goes to his friends and he's like, "We need to get out of here. We need to escape. He's going to kill us in the morning. We can go to our own life. Can drift off into the beautiful sky." And as soon as you hear that, you know something's up. Like, I'm very familiar with the story of Rocket's past. Not probably, like, I'm familiar with most of it, but I haven't. This is a lot more. I think in the film, it's a lot more of a mature, aggressive version of the story. So Rocket plans the escape. He has this like little. It almost looks like it looks like the shape of a mixtape, but it's not. Like a little thing that unlocks the door, and it's you're in the edge of your seat. Your heart is racing. Unlocks the door. Opens the door. Gets out. Unlocks Lila's door. Open it. They hug. Beautiful scene. Bam. Lila is shot by High Evolutionary, and I knew something was coming, but just that hits so hard. And it's not even like that she gets shot, which is the saddest part. It's Rocket's reaction. He stands there and just screams in pain. His emotions are everywhere. He screams. And that is heartbreaking. To see a raccoon whose only friends are 3 animals, one of them gets killed. And High Evolutionary starts making fun of him. This is the point where you hate High Evolutionary 99.9% more. And Rocket's having none of it. He jumps on his face and scratches him to death. His face is bleeding. You can see the blood coming out of his mouth, screaming in pain. And Rocket has no remorse, but you don't really care. But then after sort of the first 5 seconds of him scratching his face, You're like, you need to stop, buddy. This is your only chance. You need to get out of here. 2 soldiers come in, try to shoot Rocket. Rocket shoots them down. Looks behind him. Thieves and Floor shot. And the music is heartbreaking. It is. They chose really good music to go with it. They really did. They outdid themselves with the score of this film. And they're like heartbreaking, and just seeing them two lay there, Lila there as well. Rocket runs. He runs as fast as he can out of there, and he gets on a ship, flies away. Flashback ends. The most heartbreaking scene in the whole MCU, right there. That is heartbreaking. It is so gut-wrenchingly painful to see a raccoon's friends just die. And they had a bright future ahead of them. And High Evolutionary, he has no remorse. He couldn't care less about animals. He just sees them as experiments. He's twisted in the head. And there's 3 lives wasted, gone. And it's his fault. Of course, Rocket blames himself, but of course, it's not his fault. Heartbreaking, really, really gut-wrenchingly painful. Flies off. Anyway, back to normal time. Drax and Mantis get on a motorbike, or was it a moped? I don't know. They get on one to get to the ship. There's some funny humour. They argue. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really catch the humour, if I'm honest with you, that scene, because I was actually like so still in shock. I wasn't crying or anything, but I was just in shock. And then they drive away. So then Star-Lord and Gru, and Star-Lord just hates High Evolutionaries, calling him this RoboCop wannabe. I don't care. Your mother didn't love you. Saying all this stuff to him. And you're just kind of just letting it go by. You're not like, because you hate him, you hate High Evolutionary, so but he's like, I don't want this whole speech. Your mum didn't love you, or something like that. To which they pull the guns out and they start shooting Rocket. Gru and Star-Lord go back to back. I'm so used to saying Rocket and Gru. They go back to back. Obviously, Gru stuck some guns in. And it was quite disappointing because in the trailer, at that scene, Groot said, "We are Groot." He doesn't say that. Kind of upset about that. I thought that was poor marketing, really. I mean, they changed things. They changed a lot of things, but quite poor, really. Little upset about that. And while this is going on, Adam Warlock attacks the Bowie, is it called, their new ship? To which Gamora is forced to grab Rocket and run out. They have this big fight after Adam Warlock's mother was just like murdered. And there's this big like fight going on. So there's a lot going on at once. And then the fight going on with Star-Lord and Groot. There's this one guy, this one scientist who we saw earlier in the film, who was really nasty to Rocket, like kicking him and everything. He's like, please don't kill me, please don't kill me. And they leave him the only one left. And you're like, nah, they ain't gonna keep him alive. So Star-Lord grabs him. They both jump out the window. And Groot's just sort of stood there. He jumps out as well. And in the trailer, I was wondering like what's going on with this, because they really didn't show anything behind it. Anyway, jump out the window. Groot gets like wings, which is pretty cool. I really enjoyed that. Gets some wings, grabs Star-Lord, and they just throw this guy on the floor, and he dies. And they pull like a little like chip out of his head, which has the information that they need to save Rocket's life. High Evolutionary is still alive. And then Drax, Nebula, and Mantis get on the ship, high evolutionary ship, thinking Star-Lord and Groot still on there, which they're not. To which I thought, no, that is not a good sign. And then I was trying to think in my head where we're at. Oh yeah, they get on the ship, um, and High Evolutionary destroys the planet because that planet wasn't perfect. He destroys it and incinerates every last one of them hybrids, kills all his experiments. So many innocent lives just gone because they weren't perfect. And no one's perfect, but because of how evil he is, he did that. And committing like genocide now is this guy is messed up. This is not an okay character. He's not okay in the head. And then um, everyone gets off the planet okay, the Guardians at least. And then there's a really gut wrenching, painful scene where the Guardian, Star-Lord and Gamora are trying to save Rocket's life, and Star-Lord's not like accepting that he is gone, and he tries to get his heart pumping, and we see a flashback of, well, not even a flashback of just Rocket in heaven. He sees Lila, he sees Teves and Floor, and he's like, "Can I come with you? Can I come on your journey?" And obviously, after saying "I let you down" and everything, really emotional scene. Um, and they're like, "Of course you can come, just not yet. You still serve a purpose on this planet, on the in this world. You still got more you need to do. Your time's not up yet." And then Rocket comes back to life. He's okay, thank God. But really hard emotions in that scene, like really, really hard emotional stuff in that. But it feels earned. I'm all for it. Um, oh, I keep saying it. Sorry. It is hard, like going through a film like this. But perfect film to go through. And Rocket's okay. Another emotional bit is where they get in contact with Nebula, Drax, and Mantis, and as soon as Nebula hears Rocket talk, she starts crying in emotion. And most, people probably think like, why is Nebula so like caring about Rocket? And you think they spent 5 years together after all the Guardians died. Like they spent that time together, and it's pretty emotional. Like seeing how Nebula's grown and changed. Because in the first film, you'd never see her crying over a raccoon. Well, now she is. Um, and obviously, Groot's happy to see him as well. They're all happy. And then the Drax, Mantis, and Nebula are on the ship. And they find that not only was High Evolutionary experimenting on animals, he experimented on children. Wow. What a just messed up, cruel character. And try and release all the children, but they get caught. They're put in like a prison cell, and then we see a different side of Drax. The whole time we've seen Drax, we've seen him as this aggressive destroyer, the destroyer, Drax the destroyer. But he isn't a destroyer. He's a father, and he shows how parents would do anything to, put a smile on the child's face. And he starts making like monkey noises, which he did for his daughter, although they would sounded nothing like monkey noises. He was still making funny noises, and just trying to put a smile on these, the children's face because how much rubbish they've been through, and like just how emotional it is for them. Um, and it's happy. It's a cute scene. I like the scene. I thought it was good for Drax's character as a whole. And earlier on, like Mantis and Drax and Nebula argue, and like Mantis says like, well, at least Drax is the only one who doesn't hate himself out of everyone, because everyone else hates himself. Everyone else has got something against themselves, and Mantis is like, well, at least he doesn't hate himself, which he doesn't, and that's pretty emotional. Like, at least he cares about himself, and I think that was emotional for Nebula, and Nebula's like really aggressive because she had one of the worst childhoods that a character in the Marvel universe probably could have. Sorry, I keep gulping. Um, and Drax is just a light-hearted character, and when Drax is called dumb, or I think it was stupid, one or the other, Mantis erases his memory of that because she wants him to stay positive. She wants him to be happy, so she erases his memory of that, and just makes him a happy guy, I guess. Just small character arcs like that. That's all it is. That's all this film, and this scene just does. And I think that's important when you get those small character arcs which pay off really well and can be quite personal to other people at the same time. Moving on, um, we see the Guardians see like those monsters were called from Volume 2. They're introduced to a load of new monsters, same ones, and Mantis is able to communicate with them, and like they're not they don't want to kill us. They're just afraid. Classic animal story right there. They're just afraid of us, and Mantis is able to communicate with them, and then they get in contact with Kraglin and Cosmo, who are still left on nowhere. And I forgot to mention earlier, there's a bit of development for Kraglin and Cosmo because Kraglin actually calls Cosmo a bad dog, which is just a funny joke, and then later on takes it back, which is sort of their character arc. And nowhere, this big headship is brought to High Evolutionary ship to try and save the children. So the Guardians meet up again, and pretty rough scene basically. So there's an attack going on nowhere, and we finally get to see Kraglin use the arrow like properly. And Yondu's arrow, and he's been trying to work this thing out for ages. And he sees Mary Poppins, not Mary Poppins, Yondu, sorry, doesn't see Mary Poppins, and he's I use my heart. Classic Yondu line right there. I use my heart, to which he used his heart, saved everyone, and then Cosmo gets to get her time to shine as well because she uses her mind control to completely crush someone. Kraken's like she's a good dog, and just cute little development for them too. I liked it. I thought it was enough for them too because they're not like crazy big characters, but they still deserve their own development and role. And then we get to one of the coolest and definitely my favourite part of the film, and one of the happiest as well, where the Guardians meet up and Rocket's like, I'm done running. I'm in control right now. We're not leaving this ship. We're going to get High Evolutionary and save all the children and animals. So basically, Cosmo uses her powers to get like a little ramp thing to get the children on to nowhere to safety, and they all jump on, and No Sleep Till Brooklyn starts playing, which actually played in the Super Mario Bros. Movie. So two Chris Pratt No Sleep Till Brooklyn back to back. No Sleep Till Brooklyn, they all walk together, slow mo, open the doors, and there's this big hallway fight, and it's really, really cool because it plays No Sleep Till Brooklyn, but it gets really good shots. It looks like it's all done in one shot, even though it isn't. They're just tearing up all these monsters, just fighting, everything like that, just really getting at it. And it's really awesome scene. I really liked it. And they all get their own time to shine in fighting, and I've seen cinemas going mad over this scene because it's just one of the coolest action sequences in the whole MCU, and you're like, you watch this, you're like, this is classic MCU. This is what we go to the cinema to see MCU for. Not She-Hulk, not Miss Marvel, Shang-Chi, Eternals. This sort of stuff. Really awesome scene, I say. And then we get to what I found to be one of the most emotional scenes of the film, and this got me crying a little bit and a few tears. Um, where Rocket goes to his original place. The original place, his first memory, where he was a baby raccoon. He looks, sees his cage, his original cage, and instantly, that is just, that hits hard. Like, that's just so emotional. That's really emotional scene. Seeing the raccoons in the cage, and he's like that. They were just like me, these baby innocent raccoons in there. And while High Evolutionary doing his nonsense, he kills a load of people in the room. They just sat there. Opens the cage. They all jump on him, start playing with him, just doing classic baby animal stuff, really cute stuff. He looks at the sign, says raccoon, and the whole time we've seen Rocket in the MCU, he's denied that he's a raccoon. Denied everything. I'm not a raccoon. You don't know what he is. He's just some silly experiment he was thrown away for nothing. But he realises that was me once. I was a raccoon. So he realises like that was me. I am a raccoon. I am Rocket Raccoon. And High Evolutionary starts attacking, and you just have no energy for him anymore. You're just like, come on, sort this guy out. We don't care about High Evolutionary anymore. Just get rid of him. And he's such a bad fighter. Like, I'm not saying that over aggression or anything. Like, he's not very good at fighting. He just picks Rocket up with like his powers, almost like the Force, just throwing him around the room. And then Rocket stops that. He says the name's Rocket Raccoon, which was like such a feel good scene to finally hear him say Rocket Raccoon, because most people do refer to him as Rocket Raccoon, but you think like he's never said that. He denies that he is a raccoon, but he really is. So just good character arcs. I found that really emotional. That whole scene. I don't know why. It's just like one scene that just I found so emotional. And then we get to see all the Guardians. They come in. They beat High Evolutionary up. High Evolutionary doesn't defend himself. They all just get their own chance to shoot him, punch him, beat him up. And they just rip him apart, really, basically. And then Gamora stabs him, and then, without any question, Gamora rips his face off, and there's a guy without a face just lay there. And I was like, wow, you can show that in like a PG-13? I was like, wow, that is, just pretty dark. And excusing that, because obviously, like, I've spoken about it before. I spoke about it in my review. Like, doesn't bother me, but pretty dark stuff for younger viewers. And this is not a kids' film. This is not your classic MCU, like, just kids' film, really, at all. Like, it is, pretty gruesome. Gamora does that, and Rocket chooses not to kill him because he's like, I'm a Guardian, not going to do this. He dies anyway, though. And then Rocket's like, we can't leave here without saving the animals. Like, what are you talking about? They're animals. And he's like, that was me once. You can't leave them, man. You can't leave the animals. And I mean, I would never leave the animals. I'm such a softie for animals. Like, I love animals so much. All the animals. You've seen all these animals. You've seen dogs. You've seen penguins. Um, baby raccoons running around everywhere. And Cosmo's like struggling to hold the ship together, but she manages to find the power in her heart to keep hold of it. And she does it. and the ship is blown up. And then Star-Lord, being the goofball that he is, he drops his Zune. If you don't know what that is, it's his music player. He drops it, and he runs back to get it. He grabs it, and the ship is breaking. The ship's blown apart. Cosmo's lost control. They're both separated. So he tries to run. Floor breaks. Running through the fire. This already isn't looking very good for him. So then he jumps out to space. He grabs like a hose rod thing, flying out, and he starts freezing. And I was like, okay, so you set up the grandpa thing earlier on in the film, and then you're just going to kill him off. But I did think like that was a bit of a, if they were going to kill him off, like, would that have been a bit of a silly thing? Because like I say, he forgot his jet boots and he forgot his helmet when he was leaving because he had such an urge to leave to save Rocket. He left it. And I'm actually on my desk mat right here. I don't know if you can see. But yeah, you can't see that. But Star-Lord is there with his helmet on. And he starts freezing. The Guardians try to get him, but they just can't get him. He's out there. He's just freezing. His cheeks go all puffy. And then zooms in on his hands. And I was like, why would you zoom in on his hand if that's the end? And they try to recreate one of the paintings, and Adam Warlock touched his hand and carries him to the Guardians to safety. And I wasn't sure if they were doing that if Adam Warlock was just going to bring him back to the Guardians so he's there, or to actually save his life. And I thought, are the Guardians going to go to Star-Lord's grandpa and tell him, he saved the galaxy, everything. But no, he comes back to life. Did that look cool? Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good line right there. I enjoyed that. And, nice and happy stuff. No one dies. And everyone thought, like, someone's going to die. Someone has to die. Well, you can make a conclusion to a story without someone dying. And without a big character, like people saying Drax is going to die, Rocket's going to die. But you don't always have to have like a depressing, sad ending. You can have a bittersweet ending, which is what this is. And Star-Lord makes the decision that this is the end. This is the end of the Guardians. And he hands the captain role over to Rocket. And Rocket's always claimed himself as the captain, but he never has been. And they break the team up. No one in particular dies, but the team dies. And Mantis is like, I love you all, but I need to go. I need to explore new things. And Drax is like, I'll go with you. But she's like, no, I don't need protecting anymore. I can take care of myself. And Nebula's like, no, Drax, I need you here. I need you to be a father. You weren't born to be a destroyer. You're born to be a father. All that revenge for Drax is done now. Drax got his revenge. Thanos and Ronan are gone now. And Drax is just, his arc is complete now. Like, his story arc is done. And Nebula goes back to the Ravengers. Nothing there. And Rocket's probably the one who finds this most emotional. And he's like, you're breaking up the team, and Star-Lord's like, I can't do this my whole life. Been running their whole lives. I can't do this forever. And they all do their thing. And Gru says, I love you guys. And very recently, James Gunn revealed that this isn't Gru saying, I love you guys. This is Gru saying, I am Gru. But we understand him now. Because we're part of the Guardians now, if you will. Really cute stuff. I mean, you can't think too much into it because there's nothing that reveals that in the film. But obviously James Gunn revealed that. So, bittersweet, cute stuff. And then we're back to where the film began. Rocket gets like a note from Al for Star-Lord. And they put dog days are over. And they all start dancing. And earlier on in the film, they weren't all dancing. But when they're dancing, it feels like something's been healed. It feels so much more happier that something's been healed. They weren't all dancing at the beginning of the film. Drax thinks dancing is for morons. That's how he met his wife, by not dancing. And he starts dancing to cheer the children up. And he waves goodbye to Mantis. Mantis takes the monsters away. And that scene was literally in the trailer. That one scene, I was like, I thought that was them saying goodbye because one of them was gonna like die or something. But no, you're showing that, and I guess it was kind of clever. But then they probably shouldn't have shown it in the trailer. But like, their goodbyes, and Star-Lord goes back to his grandpa, meets him. He's got a step grandmother, I think it is now. And they all start dancing. They're all really happy. Nebula wants to make a better life for the children, give them a life which she didn't have with Thanos. Really deep character arcs, honestly. If you've been a fan of Guardians and this, it's what I said in my review. If you've been a big fan of Guardians and everything ever since the beginning, this is going to be really good to watch. I'm just looking at the time. It is currently 12:25. I've been doing this for almost an hour. We are on 56 minutes. Thank you so much if you've made it this far. It means so much. Anyways, they all dance, and we zoom in on Rocket. End of the film. So satisfyingly good. But as this is a Marvel film, of course it's not the end. The film ain't even started yet. We got 2 credit scenes. Go straight to scrolling credits. Sorry. The Guardians ones have never done the other one. They just go straight to scrolling credits. And we see a load of pictures of just like telling the story of the Guardians from different points of view. And we get the first credit scene where it's the new Guardians. The new Guardians features one of the little girls from High Evolutionary Ship, Rocket as the captain, Adam Warlock, Kraglin, Cosmo, and Groot, who was like hiding out as like a rock. He's really big now. He's like King Groot, basically. And there was a joke earlier on where he gets really big, and this Groot is huge now. He's really, really big. Cute little bit there. I really enjoyed that. Just the evolution of Gru. Now, I don't think that this is indicating towards anything in the future. I may be wrong, but I think that this was just done to satisfy the audience and think that the Guardians have their own journey. They're defending a load of other people, saving lives, being heroes, Rocket's the captain. And they put Come and Get Your Love On, which is just a throwback to the original film. I really love that as well. They'll fly out. And that's the end of the first credit scene. And that's like good credit scene, not indicating towards. I don't think it's indicating towards anything. Get next credit scene, final one, end credit scene. It says it's about Star-Lord and his grandfather. He's reading the newspaper about Kevin Bacon talking about his experience with the Guardians, and they're like a box of Magic Spoon cereal. And they're just discussing about like mowing the lawn or something. I think that's what they said. And there's been some theories going around that credit scene was really odd and was the indication that possibly Kang was planned for that. Possibly, very, very possibly. I don't need to go into that because that's like other people's theories. And then white screen. Legendary Star-Lord will return. There we go. Star-Lord will return. And I'm assuming probably a minor role in Avengers Secret Wars or Kang Dynasty. That's my bet. I think Chris Pratt knows where he shines. He knows that Star-Lord and, I don't know if you can see, Mario there, that's his future. So clearly now Chris Pratt's future is Super Mario Brothers, Guardians of the Galaxy, and I think Chris Pratt knows where he wants to be. Like Dave Bautista, he said he wants to go to work with new directors, do more serious, sort of smaller films. And Zoe Saldana recently revealed yesterday she's never coming back. Um, I don't know about Rocket and Gru. I don't. I wouldn't. I'd be surprised if they ever got like a big role again. And obviously Mantis, I wouldn't expect to come back. Karen Gillan, probably not. I think Chris Pratt just wants to continue what he's doing. He wants to do Mario Brothers and what's the other one? Guardians. And then we have a picture of just all the Guardians together just on the big screen. So satisfying, amazing. Whew, that is the whole film, guys. We just ran through the whole of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So if you made it this far, please do consider subscribing, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in for this long. And yes, this is my favourite Guardians film, and it's definitely like the best MCU for a while. This and No Way Home just gone top tier for me. It's just so fresh for Marvel now. I see a bright future for James Gunn. He's taken over DC now. That James Gunn's done with it. And I mean, like, for the future of Guardians, like, if like in a few years they did another holiday special just for fun, they undid everything. I wouldn't mind that. Like, I love the holiday special. I would love another holiday special because I watch that every year. I'm Groot is great. I'm not sure about another I Am Groot season. I mean, they could always reuse lines. That's pretty simple. In Guardians 1, 2, and 3 are just absolutely amazing masterpieces. So yeah, guys, that is going to wrap up the stream. Thank you so much for watching. Please do comment, like, unsubscribe, share with your friends and family. Thank you so much if you stayed this long. It really means the world to me. Thank you so much, honestly. I need a drink. My mouth is watering. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is coming out soon, so I will definitely be going to see that. And if there's no videos for a little while, I'm actually not going to be filming for a little while because I'm actually going away. So sorry about that, but there will be much more content to come. But thank you so much for watching, guys, and we will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye. Just turn this off. Goodbye.